Speed versus Velocity by Iyanla, Maeve, and Z. Introduction. One of the objectives of Physical Education 9 is to test the agility of students. Agility, according to Oxford Dictionary, is the ability to move quickly and easily. Agility is associated with speed and/or velocity. The objective of this experiment is to differentiate speed and velocity by tracking the motion of a student running in 1. The same direction, and 2. Varying directions. Methodology. The experiment included 2 segments. The first segment being the dash run,
one direction,
and the second segment being the shuttle run,
varying direction.
First, the researchers put a mark on the ground to indicate the initial position and the final position. Then, the subject is documented as she ran from the initial point to the 10-meter mark. The researchers then put a mark on the ground to indicate the 2 meters, 4 meters, 6 meters, 8 meters, and 10 meters distance. The subject is documented as she continuously ran from the initial point to 2 meters, and back to the initial point, to 4 meters, and back, and 6 meters, and back, and 8 meters, and back, and 10 meters, and back. The videos are then processed in the tracker, and the motion of the subject, as she ran in one direction, and varying directions, was tracked. The data from the tracker are transferred to Excel, and plotted in graphs. Results and discussion. For the dash run, it is evident in the XT graph that the subject ran in a straight direction. Computing the speed, which is distance multiplied by time, we get the value 3.31 meters per second through the polynomial trend line, which follows the third kinematic equation. We can compute the acceleration, which is 1.93 meters per second squared. Also, we can compute for the velocity, which is also 3.31 meters per second. Now, looking at the VT graph, we can say that the student accelerated towards the right, since the linear trend line has a positive slope. As for the shuttle run, it can be seen in the XT graph that the subject ran towards the right, then to the left, in the 5 segments. Calculating the speed, we get the value 2.41 meters per second. Through the polynomial equation of the XT graph, we can see that the overall acceleration is close to 0. It is because acceleration is computed by getting the change in velocity over the change in time. Since the subject ran back to its initial position, we get a velocity of 0 and an acceleration of 0. However, looking at the VT graph, we can say that in each segment, the student both accelerated and decelerated, or sped up and slowed down. Furthermore, in the XT graph, we can see that in each segment, the student accelerated to the right, then decelerated to the left, then accelerated to the left, and finally decelerated to the left. Conclusion. Since the dash run consists of only one direction, which is the positive direction, there is a positive acceleration and velocity. And since the shuttle run consists of 2 directions, with the subject returning to her original position, the velocity and acceleration for the whole shuttle run is 0. However, by dissecting each segment, it is found out that in a segment, there are actually 4 things that happen. Acceleration to the right, then deceleration to the right, then acceleration to the left, and finally deceleration to the left. Through the experiment, it was also observed that speed is affected by how fast the person really runs, and is not affected whether the person is running towards the right or towards the left. Hence, we can say that speed is the ratio of how far you step and how quick you step. As for velocity, it is the ratio of how far you went from where you began and how quick you got there. References.